Okay, so this sample program contains one function called display value. I've got my main program where I'm going to call the function, and I have the prototype for the function. So I'm going to start off by looking at the function definition. It looks a little bit different than our previous function definitions because they had just empty parentheses. And in this case, I have a variable declared inside of the parentheses, and this is what's referred to as a parameter. This means when the display value function gets called, the programmer is going to be required to send it one integer value in order for it to execute. So here you can see when the function executes, it'll say the value is, and then it'll display the value of the number. Now if you'll notice up at the top here is the prototype. Now I showed you before, in order to get a prototype, you copy the heading. Here's the heading. You paste it prior to main, and you put a semicolon after it. And so that's the prototype of this function. Now, when you'll notice here in the textbook, sometimes the name of the variable is left off. And that is an acceptable form of a prototype as well. And it's fine to do that, but sometimes I find in a beginning programming class that's a little difficult for students. So I tend to just have my students copy the heading, paste it at the top, and put a semicolon after it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to call the display value function, and I'm going to pass it one integer. In this case, we just happen to pick 5. And that 5 is going to get passed out into this integer variable called num. And it'll display the value is 5. So here I'm going to run the program, and again it should say I'm passing values to display value. It'll call the display value function. It'll pass 5. 5 will get stored in this number variable, and then this will see out the value is 5, and then we'll return to here. And that's exactly what happens. So the benefit of functions is that you can call them more than one time, and you can call them with different values. So here I could also call the display value function with a 10. So that would take a 10 and pass it into this variable num and say the value is 10. And then I could do it with a 2, which will pass the 2 into this variable num, and it'll display 2, and I could do it with a 16. So I'm actually calling the function 4 times with different parameters, and you can see that that works here. In addition, if you wanted to, you could use variables. I can say int x is assigned the value of 11, and then I can call the function display value, and I can pass that 11, and that works. You can see here the value is 11. So that's one of the benefits to working with functions. They can be called more than one time, and this is how we get information from the main program, in this case, to a function, is by passing it here in the parameter list.